Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Thank you for listening on SuperTalk 103.1. We really appreciate you being here. And if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, thanks for tuning in there as well. Great conversations. We cover the spectrum. We talk to leaders who are doing amazing things. We're talking to people who've done incredible things entrepreneurially in coastal Mississippi and are contributing jobs and, I don't know, stress. Maybe they're for sure contributing stress, but they're making big investments in coastal Mississippi. And, we're so lucky to live here. I talk about this on my show here, Coast Vue, and my new show, Super Talk Outdoors. But, the opportunity to live in Mississippi, which I believe is the capital of outdoors in the United States, we have a lot to be thankful for. Hey, listen, we got a great show. We're going to be visiting with my friend, the Captain Sonny Schindler of Sure Thing Charter. We'll come back to him in just a second. But before we go any further, I want to bring Kyle in. And first of all, just say good morning to my partner in crime. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Hey, I joked with you off the air. You do the music in the Superdome during Saints games. You got some special music dialed up for the coming weeks?
Yes, I am beginning to work on that playlist today, actually, which is probably a day or two earlier than I normally do.
Well, look. We'll say what we're saying out the air. Jeff Duncan, every Friday he visits with us from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Covered the Saints longer than anyone else in history. He is on the NFL Hall of Fame selection committee. He wrote the most recent book about Peyton and Breeze. Guy's amazing. But he said at the beginning of this season that we've got a good starting lineup. But if we have to go deep because of the salary cap issues, we're going to have some challenges. And it's played out that way, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. And I think the wide receiver position is probably the most prevalent without Michael Thomas there. The other guys that are having to step up in that key role have just not been able to do it, and that really hurts us. There's been a lot of passes, especially this last week. There was passes that got through some fingertips that you kind of look at and go, yep, Mike Thomas could have brought that in. So you do miss him. I have to see what happens. Maybe they bring Taysom in its quarterback. Maybe his foot's better this week. It's going to be a tough road playing the Cowboys on Thursday night. So,
but it might be a good setup for the Saints, though. I mean, look, it looks like if Taysom's foot is healthy and he's practicing with the first team this week, he's going to start. And if you can get Ingram and Kamara back, or one of the two of them back, and then Davenport, I think, is supposed to be back. Anyway, we'll talk to Jeff more about this this week. But the bottom line is, it could be a good game for the Saints. Let's hope that they play with some spirit.
I hope so. I'm looking for something different. This losing streak is not fun.
No, it's not. We're not used to it as Saints fans. How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was good. Little rough to start. My boy got sick Thanksgiving Day at the game, actually. And so they had to leave early, and I caught a ride to Slidell. But after that, he was feeling fine the next day. And, it was the promise of going fishing on the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. He was definitely going to be ready for that. And we rearranged the trip, went out at noon, and had a great time.
Well, listen, I had my nephews up at the camp, Peter and Nico, a couple of weeks ago, and you can't get them up to go to school. But Peter was up at 4:30 in the morning, ready to. He woke me up and asked Uncle Bubba a question. Someone laughed later that he could say, "What is 3 to the power of 10?" That it didn't matter what the question was. He just wanted me to get up so I could be with him. But that's the beauty of taking kids in the outdoors, man. They love it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can do the same thing with my son. I'll walk in on a morning that we're going to go fishing, and whether it's 4 o'clock or 4:30, all I have to do is go in, Desi, let's go fishing, and I'll know how much he's paid attention when I walk out 5 minutes later, He's like, all right, let's go. He's still not awake yet, but he's ready to go fishing.
It's always been like that for me. We do Thanksgiving, big Thanksgiving meal one year, and then the next year we don't cook. So that because we got all our kids except for one are married and have kids, and they have in-laws. So we let 1 year sort of be the in-law year, and then we have a big family get together. And this year I actually went to the Island View C&G Grill, and it was really nice. I mean, they had great Thanksgiving meal, and then after that, we went to visit with the Mathews clan. That's always fun. So it was, and then off to the Delta with Justin. Got to spend a week with Justin, who was in from New York City, and man, that's when I realized the place we have up in the Delta is a wonderful magnet for him. It keeps him wanting to come home. He'll be back again for Christmas, thank God. But hey, your son's going to be like Justin, 25 years old and still loving it.
Yeah, he is. Now he's piped up and he's decided he wants to go hunting. And I've never been a hunter. I used to, I would go with friends and it was just squirrel and rabbit hunt, but I've never done the whole deer hunting thing. I didn't have the patience for it. And physically for me, it's just more difficult. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to get him in there. I think his friend Cameron that went fishing with us, he might be able to go do some hunting with him.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, man. You just got to feed the outdoors to these kids. I'm a big Henry David Thoreau fan, and a couple. Let me see. Here's one that I think he wrote. We can never have enough of nature, and again, the opportunity here in coastal Mississippi because of all we have to enjoy. He also wrote this. He said, "This is Henry David Thoreau again." Hang on a minute. Let me get this to shrink down. Okay. I believe that there is a subtle magnetism in nature, which, if unconsciously yielded to, will direct us aright. I think that's pretty powerful. Kids seem to know that, man. One last thing that Henry David Thoreau said, incidentally, I am grateful for what I am and have. My Thanksgiving is perpetual. I mean, I like to thank God every single day that we are where we are and have what we have. And for Thanksgiving, I don't need Thanksgiving to feel that way, but there is definitely a magnetism about the outdoors for kids, isn't there?
There really is. And my son at this point, he's 14 and really can't get enough. He's trying to find a way to go fishing before school. And that's a tough ask for me.
Hey, let's bring Captain Sonny Schindler in for a second. He's with Shore Thing Fishing Charters out of Bay St. Louis. He's a regular on the show. As everyone knows, I love the outdoors. He loves the outdoors. So we spend time together on Coast Vue just talking about how special this place is that we call coastal Mississippi. But anyway, Sonny kind of hooked you up, didn't he? Didn't he, Kyle?
He did. I tried to go with Sonny at first, and my son and wife were like, well, we kind of wanted to go a little sooner than that. Things didn't work out, and Sonny gave me Paul Leone's name at Southern Comfort, and it turned out we had a great time. Paul is a great guy. We had some weather challenges that first date that we tried to go, and he was thankfully really upfront and honest about going to be the challenges of trying to get fish to bite as the temperature dropped suddenly like it did. And ultimately we ended up postponing it, and then we didn't actually have to postpone it the second time. We just changed the hours. Instead of going out at 6 a.m. when it was still 30-something degrees, we went at noon, and it turned out to be a great trip. I cannot say anything more great. I mean, Paul is just a great guy. We had a great time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, by the way, you can show some of those pictures, Kyle, of your trip while we're talking to Sonny.
Mixed in with everyone else's, so we'll roll through them in a little bit.
Yeah, good. Hey, Sonny, what's interesting about what Paul did with Kyle, though, and you guys face this all the time, when you get a really stiff north wind that blows the water out of the marshes, it really either cancels your plans or changes them pretty dramatically, doesn't it?
It does. And I remember Saturday well. The crew, I was working a 2-boat trip with Matt, and the crew we had afternoon plans, and we barely moved. Normally we'll move it back. Like they did it perfect, but they had the schedule that allowed, and Paul's really good about that. So we were trying to bump them back. We couldn't. And we froze our tails off all morning. Matthew and I, neither one of us got on any kind of fish till I think we came in probably as y'all were leaving. And both of us found our fish in the last 30 minutes. Now we smoked them, but we froze our tails off all morning for that 30, 40 minutes of just nonstop action.
Yeah, my son Jordan and his friend Leland Dunning went to Horn Island. It was kind of rough and cold, and I'm not into that, going to the barrier islands in 30-something degree weather. It's just too darn cold. Hey, look, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Sonny Schindler, our friend here. We talk about the outdoors, and we're going to be joined by Captain Alex, and we'll talk to you more about him when we come back. See you after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
It's 2021 and J. Allen Toyota still has a lifetime warranty on all new Toyotas. They all come with Toyota Care. We've got a great rental department. We've got great used cars. We've got a parts and service department ready to help you. So when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I enjoyed sort of hearing that story of the connection that Kyle is having with his son around fishing. And now his son wants to go hunting. So, you know, the love of the outdoors, a family that fish and hunts together stays together. I really believe that. And we have some of the best outdoor enjoyment here in Mississippi than just about anywhere else in the world. That's my strong belief. Kyle's actually going to show some pictures, actually. I think the beginning of them, are some from the recent fishing trip that he took. And then you'll see toward the end of the photos, this is for the Facebook and YouTube audience, just some pictures of Captain Alex, who's going to be joining us now, Captain Alex McIngvale, who is one of the captains in the Shore Things Charter Group. And we're gonna visit and tell some stories and just enjoy each other's company for a few minutes. So, Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Ricky. Thank y'all for letting me join y'all today.
It's fun to have you, man. It's good, you know, as we sort of talked about offline before we started the show. You've really had the outdoors in your blood most of your life, haven't you?
I have. Only way I've ever made a living was guiding, hunting, and fishing.
And as a kid, man, you were fishing just about every day, weren't you?
I was extremely fortunate. I grew up in North Mississippi in DeSoto County, and when I was 12, we moved to the coast, moved to Bay St. Louis, and actually lived right on the Jordan River. And so I was able to literally fish, you know, every day, even if it was, or be on the water every day, even if it was for 30 minutes after school or all day on a Saturday. So I'm very, very fortunate.
And like Captain Sonny, you went to St. Stanislaus. I think you were a couple of years younger than him. Is that right?
That's correct. I think we're 2 years apart, and I actually knew Sonny before, or right when we moved originally from Camp Stanislaus, and then we were all in school together as well.
It's interesting, Sonny. You think about Alex, his path is kind of similar to yours. You know, he eventually found his way heading down to Venice to do the big offshore thing. You spend a lot of time down there as well. That's a great place, isn't it, to sort of get a feel for what real significant offshore fishing looks like in the Gulf of Mexico. There's no better place than Venice, is there?
No, and he hit the ground running. I worked with Paradise Outfitters, and Alex worked with Super Strike with Damon McKnight. And, you know, as soon as he got there, they were, you know, the fishing was really good. But then the oil spill hit. Nobody knew what to do. Well, they got to work their tails off and build up their fleet. So Alex did it just pretty similar to what I did, whereas I got in, it was just a captain and a mate, and Alex got in with Damon. What did Damon have, a boat or two back then?
Yeah, Sonny, I think when I started, he had 2 boats and leased another one. And
now Hunter and Damon are 2 of the bigger ones down there. So it was nice to be a part of it and just, you know, experience all that, all the different species and tactics. And, you know, I'm sure Alex will tell you that the people you meet there, I mean, they're one of a kind. All of them have a story, and you know, they're brilliant in many ways. Not many of them maybe as books. I know I'm not one of them that's very book smart, but all of them have this unique skill set or talent or ability that it ties it all together. It's awesome.
Alex, you think about technology. I know you moved back over here to do the fishing you're doing today in 2014. Is that right?
That's correct.
But you think about the technology changes during the time that you were there, and then in Venice, and then, you know, today, you know, the ability to get there quicker, the kind of boats that they're using today, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Really, you think about the changes that have been made over the past, say, you know, 7, 8, 9 years.
Oh, it's been huge, and Sonny saw it. Sonny kind of saw the transition from most of the fleet going from sport fishers to center consoles, and I was there kind of at the transition from a center console to the giant super fast center consoles. I remember when we put the first set of 300s on the 32 Twin V that I was running. We had been running 250s on it, and I remember I thought it was, I was running lightning fast because I could cruise at almost 40 miles an hour. And then just a couple years later, the big triple engine boats, and then the quad engine boats, and if you couldn't cruise at 60 when it was calm, you were going to be late, especially in the summer. So it changed a lot for sure, and I think for the better. I think it offers more range, more speed. It gives you more time to do your work if you're not spending so much time running. So it's definitely an advantage, for the customers as well as us.
So whereas Sonny came back here and really mostly focused on inshore fishing, you're doing inshore fishing yourself, but you're also involving some offshore as well. What type of offshore are you getting involved in?
That's correct. In the past, I've just basically done state water snapper fishing as well. And then when cobia are in close within the 3 miles in Mississippi or in Louisiana state waters, cobia fish. But for 2022, we actually have a designated offshore boat. Just closed the deal on it yesterday. And it's going to be a federally permitted boat. And we're going to offer the standard snapper trips, but also, tuna fishing. Primarily the tuna fishing that we'll offer will be in the winter and in the fall when they're in the closest for us.
Yeah.
And then the other reef species, grouper, amberjack, and then the other pelagics, wahoo, mahi, and basically everything that has to offer, hopefully.
What kind of boat?
It's a yellowfin.
Yeah. That's gonna be awesome. I love going to the salt domes in February when the fish are there. Is that fun or what?
That is that and probably my favorite way to tuna fish is behind the trawl boats in the fall. But the lump fishing in the winter is second, for sure.
It's a special kind of fishing that's really accessible here in coastal Mississippi. That is for sure. The last time I was there, it was epic. It was epic. We came home at 11 because we didn't have any place to put any fish. It was that. We caught a 135, a 145, and a 155 yellowfin on that day. The backbreaker day. Oh, and add a 95-pound amberjack, but that's the way fishing is there, That's the way it is. So Alex, you were also involved. I guess, was it when you were raised in northwest Mississippi, right? Is that where you said? Okay, and you went to Mississippi State, so you had a duck connection up there early in your life. Tell me about that.
I did. I actually started guiding duck hunters when I was 12. The year before we moved to the coast on some property that my dad had the hunting rights to, and that the owner was wanted my dad to help him sell the property. So my dad started getting me to take potential buyers of the property duck hunting that season to help, promote it. And then, I think one day one of them said, "Man, you did a great job." One of them gave me $40 or something. Then I thought, oh, well, I'm going to get rich doing this. I know what I'm doing the rest of my life. And I'm still looking for that pot of gold, but hadn't found it quite yet.
Well, you actually hunt in a pretty good section of the state. When you think about we talked a little bit before the show started about the changing migrations of ducks and the improved habitat north of Mississippi and the lack of cold weather. There's so many dynamics at play into whether we're going to get ducks or not in the flyway of the Mississippi Delta. But if they come, Tunica is a good place to be, isn't it?
It is. And we have stuff in Tunica and then just to the east of Tunica, actually in the hills in Tate County as well. And some years we actually see a more consistent push in those little, what I call micro flyways on the upper end of the reservoirs. We're on the upper end of Arcabutler Reservoir, and that can be it takes less ducks to be more consistent than it does in the wider area of the Delta. So sometimes we spend more times in the hills than we do in the Delta.
Hey, to give me an idea of how much you're doing as far as duck guiding is concerned, like in a typical season, how many guided hunts will you do?
I actually have stepped away from the guiding myself. Mainly what I do now is land management, develop and manage properties, set up management plans, and logistically during the season. And most of my hunters are pretty self-sufficient nowadays.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good area to be in, because people are really, really focused on creating the best possible wildlife habitat they possibly can. It's all about maximizing the land. We spend a lot of time talking about that as well. Hey, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Captain Alex McIngvale and Sonny Schindler from Sure Thing Charters, just good friends of the show. And we'll find out what the latest is in the fishing scene in coastal Mississippi. We'll see you after this break.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever, with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Captain Sonny Schindler and Captain Alex McIngvale from Sure Thing Charters. They're good friends of Coast View, especially Sonny, who's been a regular here on the show. We're getting to know Alex better today. But you know what, Sonny, one of the things I said to my Super Talk Outdoors audience the other day, for people who don't come to coastal Mississippi during the winter and don't pay close attention to it, I love the backwaters of coastal Mississippi this time of year because, I told you know, as long as it's not super rough, the water becomes so crystal clear. I said, think Key West crystal clear. I can go out on my dock and it's literally the most beautiful clear I've seen in a long time. Because we've had no rain for a while now, we're beginning to see the specks and redfish come into the backwaters. This is a really good time of year to fish, isn't it?
It is. And you know, this has been one of the busier Novembers I've ever had. I scheduled our talk together when y'all sent me the memo weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I'll be blown out by then. And I think I've worked all but like 3 days of November, and Thanksgiving Day was one of them. And I tried to take a brother-in-law, and that got shut down because we were hosting Thanksgiving. But the fishing's, we've got really, really good stuff down south in the marsh, but the weather has been so sketchy between the cold, the wind, and the low tide that we've been forced, not willingly, to fish in close and hide from this wind. But the fish are there, so the scenarios I've been doing are just as far back in these bayous and drains as I can get. I almost didn't get out of one the other day. But mainly redfish, it's been almost all redfish, but on these really, really low north wind, low tide, full moon days where you would think they're not going to be there. I mean, we're rounding the corners in some of these little drains and ditches, and it looks like those Nat Geo videos with the catfish that walk out of the water. I mean, there was one day I had like 7 of them just rolling down the bank, eating crabs. The crabs are everywhere. These little, about $50 size, and they're just, the redfish are so fat and lazy, they're just cruising down the banks. And when they see one, a crab's not going to outrun a redfish, and they're just exploding on them. So a lot of times you can use that ultra low water to your advantage. And, I almost paid the price. I almost spent the night there last week sometime. I wasn't watching I was watching the tide. I wasn't watching the wind. The wind was stronger than the tide that day. And even though my tide chart was right, I didn't pay attention. I just wasn't paying attention.
Well, listen, Sonny, I watched that from my house here on Back Bay. You get the right kind of north wind and the right tide cycle, and suddenly you have zero water. What we're talking about here is not necessarily having water that's not deep enough to get out. You're talking about literally ending up high and dry. Potentially. Oh, yeah.
And no doubt. I could see him smiling. What he's smiling about, the first time Alex came down to when he was wanting to get into working with us, at the time we didn't have enough business. This was 08, 09, somewhere in there. We had just brought on a new boat, so we couldn't bring on 2 at the same time back then. So we're still old buddies. So we went out and fished. It was February. Went out and fished. We didn't really catch a whole lot. And it was the last bayou out. We were coming, I don't know if you've ever fished Johnson's Bayou in the marsh. And we're talking, and it was a fun day. We had a real good time up until the last turn. I was about 5, and it had gotten low, and we had her trimmed up, and we were moving. The last turn, I was about 5 feet off the channel, and we stuck her. And Matt had to come get us about 1 a.m.
Oh no!
Well, the towboat couldn't even get to us, so they actually had to put pirogues in the boat, and Matt had to get in a pirogue. And Matt still tells the story about paddling a 12-foot pirogue with all of Sonny's tackle, and he and Sonny, in 40-degree weather back to to get us out. And I think there was a half inch of freeboard on that pirogue, and he's yelling,
terrible.
"Don't move! Don't move!"
Yeah, and when I say 5 feet, if I would have gone 5 feet to port.
Yep.
But I mean, it was kind of sketchy. It was cold. We were both wet from trying to get it out, and luckily we had a signal. But 5 feet, it was almost.
And you know
really
what?
Bad.
You could get in trouble quick. You got to be ready for situations like that, especially when it's cold. Cold can sneak up on you and create a major problem soon. I was talking to a major duck hunter the other day, and he said he doesn't like to do river duck hunting. It's just too dangerous. He wants people to have their feet on the ground. If they fall in with their feet on the ground, we'll be able to get them out. You fall in the river or offshore, it's a whole different scenario. It's very scary. I see, Alex, you're an experienced hunter in that way, but I'm totally right about that, aren't I?
No, 100%. I think everybody goes through their river hunting phase where they fight that river, and there's excellent duck hunting on it. But no, it's not worth it to me anymore. Like you said, it can be very dangerous, especially if you have inexperienced people. I've seen push boats. People aren't used to the big weights that the push boats, that the barges in the river produce, and that'll swamp them while they're hunting. And bad stuff can happen quick on the river. And unfortunately, with as advanced as the technology and all the gadgets and stuff we have now, people kind of get overconfident with their equipment, and not necessarily the most experienced people will be out there trying to do that. And I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble.
It doesn't take long if you go in the water. I mean, hypothermia is real, and it overcomes you rapidly. And within just a few minutes, things can start to go from not good to literally tragic very rapidly. Seems like it happens at least once every year. We hear a story of someone who didn't pay attention. Thank God here in coastal Mississippi, we don't hear of that. But I guess people who go offshore here, for the most part, tend to be a little bit more experienced, even though every now and then we see those inexperienced guys out there doing what we know they shouldn't do, because you can get in trouble really quickly. Alex, but you grew up fishing the Jordan River area in Hancock County. You're no stranger to low tides and what that looks like, and you're also no stranger to the fact that redfish have a way of finding their little special spots, and you know where they are, don't you?
Well, I'm supposed to know where they are. Some days it seems like I don't know where they are. Some days it seems like they're so easy they come to you, and other days I'm convinced there's not one anywhere in the world. But I do enjoy when you get them hemmed up, like Sonny was talking about, in a little area where they may not bite, but they have to look at your bait before they can get away.
Well, we do a lot of marsh fishing in Biloxi's Back Bay, and usually can pick up several just doing that. Just fishing along the marshes. The closer you cast to the marsh, the better. But if we're having a slow day, then we'll round the corner and go to a place we call the Redfish Hole. And so far, I think maybe I've been there one time and we didn't catch redfish. The rest of the time, they just loaded up in there. And you've got holes like that all over the Louisiana marsh. If you're not able to go to the marsh and you have to stick closer to shore, you got a couple little spots like that you can go to, and you usually do pretty well, don't you?
Yes, and Sonny and I talk about this. All the guys talk about this all the time. Is we have all of us. I think it's one reason we're so successful as a team. Is we kind of all have our little niches within within our fishery, and we have our, we're confident in different areas and different places, but yes, there's certain areas that, like, personally, I love fishing wrecks and reefs, even if it's shallow water, for trout and reds. I mean, I love fishing wrecks in 10 to 20 feet of water for, bigger trout and reds, depending on the time of year. And that's where I'm the most confident, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a couple of little sweet spots near Curly like that. I won't say anything else. But can be some really, really, really big speckled trout there on a big live pinfish. You know the deal. So anyway, Sonny, as you hear Alex talk, people who don't, and we're coming to the end of this segment, so we'll pick this up on the other side. But what we'll talk about is cold weather. It may affect your ability to get to places like Cat Island, Louisiana Marsh, but there's still great fishing to happen in coastal Mississippi. We're lucky that we have the backwater system that we have here, and you guys are in it constantly and understand what that's all about. But we'll talk more about that when we get on the other side with Captain Sonny Schindler and Captain Alex McIngvale. We'll see you after this break.
You can also listen live to Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On Super Talk Mississippi. What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. Super Talk Mississippi, the Super Talk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here. The show Saturdays at 1, right here on Super Talk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on Super Talk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Barra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, 2 streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have Captain Sonny Schindler and Captain Alex McIngvale joining me today. And we're just talking about fishing and storytelling and whatever. But I read this quote at the beginning of the show, Sonny, from Henry David Thoreau that said, "We can never have enough nature." And if you read anything about him, he loved to get out in the outdoors. He was kind of a minimalist. He didn't think we needed a bunch of materials, possessions. And what he wrote about the outdoors is really, really fundamentally incredible. But we're lucky to live here, man. I mean, the work that you guys do is about understanding and exploring the backwaters and just offshore coast of Mississippi. We are, I mean, it's an intricate web of waterways, isn't it?
It is. And you know, I always get a kick out of people when they say, you know, I'm shutting down. The season's almost over in fishing. No. I mean, I get it. I wish I could go deer hunt more and duck, maybe even duck hunt in some of those nicer spots Alex has. But no, there is a snapper season. You know, there is times you can't. But some of the best stuff you can do is in this harsher condition to find, you know, utilizing that low water and finding those bars and finding the shell banks that you can come back in the spring and fish those troughs and you know, and sometimes you get in some hairy situations, but you know, most of the stuff I fished last week, that may only been 100 yards one direction or maybe half a mile another, but I hadn't fished most of it. I'd never been in it, and that's what almost got me a sleepover there. But you know, getting out there and exploring, and most of it was worth it. Yeah. The redfish were really good, but you know, and I'm sure Alex will tell you that the best fishermen and the best hunters are the ones that go more often and go to different areas. So your best hunter isn't somebody that just duck hunts every day. It's going to be the guy that duck, turkey, hog, you know, all that stuff, bow, gun, muzzle loader. And Alex and I know some guys down in Venice that all they do every day is hunt and fish. And I think it's safe to say, you know, neither one of us would go up against any of these guys in any kind of competition. We would just give them the trophy and say, you know, everybody's competing for second place kind of thing.
Alex, I bet you've seen some characters. Tell me a story.
Oh, wow. You've been doing it so long, but one that pops to mind, especially with the warm weather we're having this week, and I'm referring to duck hunting on this one, was years ago. I can't remember the exact year. I got the pleasure to take our former governor, Phil Bryant, and this was right after he had won his first election for lieutenant governor. He had just been elected lieutenant governor, and we had this hunt planned for a long time. And I was managing the property for a friend of his in Tate County, Mississippi, and it was kind of the election's over, relax, bring him out. Hopefully he had won, which he did, and hunt. And leading up to the week of the hunt, it was one of the best opening 10 days. It was early in the year when he came, but before he came, it was amazing. I mean, it was just some of the best early hunting that we actually had migratory mallards in Mississippi in late November, early December. It was amazing. And then, of course, as you can expect, I'm sure you know where the story's going. As his day approaches, the wind stops blowing, the temperatures get up into the high 60s, low 70s, and what ducks are there become extremely scarce. I think we were on a bad moon, and it turned bad quick. So we were all uptight. And of course, Governor Bryant was super fun to be around. And we told him we expected it to be a slow morning, but he was gracious and excited to go. So we went out, and the owner of the property's son, we were in a big blind. He cooked breakfast for Governor Bryant in the blind, and literally that we were harping on the breakfast because we did not fire a shot until it was maybe 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, and I hear one mallard drake come over, and everybody knows that sound, the whistling wings and the drake call. And I was like, oh my gosh, please work. So I called to him, and he did like he was supposed to. He turned, and at the last minute, he flared, and it was a long shot. And I told the governor, I said, you better go ahead and try him. And he made an amazing shot. It was probably, honestly, 50 yards, and dropped the duck in the weeds, and the duck was still crippled. And I had an amazing Labrador at the time that everybody that hunted with me knew, Magnum. And Magnum got a good mark on him, and I sent him. I was like, oh my gosh, please, please, please let him bring this duck back. And he miraculously found him and brought him back. And that was the only shot we fired all day. And we were embarrassed for that, but Governor Bryant was so much fun to hunt with and spend time with. He's such a great outdoorsman, to begin with, and he completely understood. But I think the last time I was in his office a few years later, and one of his staff it was after he was elected governor, one of his staff showed me he had actually gotten that duck mounted and was hanging in his office. So that was pretty cool.
Well, that's cool. That's a cool story. Yeah, he's a real advocate for enjoying the outdoors, for conservation in this state. He's a great storyteller. He's a good person. He's a lot of fun to be around. And man, does he love this state. That is for sure. Hey, listen, in a couple of minutes we have left, Sonny, just tell me, where do you go from here? You all booked up? What's December looking like for you?
We actually have a few gaps, and then we'll hit it hard again for the Christmas break when the kids get out. That'll fill in here shortly. But for the most part, nobody's going to turn down speckled trout. But I know my last few trips, I go to one or two of my, like your redfish hole, and if they're not cooperating, I go straight to redfish. Here before long, the sheephead will get really thick, them and the puppy drum, and that usually gets around its best close to Mardi Gras. All of our guys will be back from the woods, so we'll hit it hard then. But it's really just finding those good days in between the fronts. There's typically somewhere to hide and something to fish for, as long as it's not rainy and cold. That's hard to sell.
Well, Sonny Schindler, thank you for taking some time to visit with us today. And Alex, it was a pleasure to meet you. Good luck with your new yellowfin. Maybe I'll see you at the lumps in February. Chunking away and letting someone else hold the rod. That's not, I don't have the back for it like I used to. So anyway, hey, it's a pleasure to see you guys, and keep up the great work, and look forward to visiting again soon.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thank you.
Bet. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Hey, guess what?